Introducing your host, Cheryl
I was
Elman, in
going
the
to
Elman Internet
say
Cafe.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to the Dave Elman Cafe. This is part of our series in 2024 from our conference series. And we have people that have been to conferences in the past, and we've invited some people just out there. So there should be more people coming in and continue to come in. So I am so thrilled to introduce my friend, Beryl Comar. Beryl and I have known each other a long time, meeting originally at the NGH, probably 2009 or 10, right around there, and have really traveled the world together over the years at different conferences. And now we've been Zooming together for the last few years because I'm finding it nice to stay home more because we were at conferences anywhere from 5 conferences a year, conferences and classes around the world. So I am very thrilled to have her here. And today, um, she will usually, often, she works and speaks about hypnodontics, but today she is going to talk to us about dementia care, caring for the family, caring for the person. And she and actually Claudia also have been working together. They have worked and with the Nightingale group. Am I saying it right? Okay. And I'm going to let her talk to you about how she got into this. We are also both sleep talk trainers, international trainers, and how she's used some of those concepts also in working with seniors and dementia. And so I'm really excited to introduce my friend and colleague, Beryl Comar.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, and nice to see so many people that I've known many years. Larry, for example, even longer, 20 odd years from going to the National Guild. So nice to see so many of you. Um, I, I, I wonder if you are aware of the biggest fears that people have, and the latest polls on the biggest fears that people have by Gallup poll. And many of them start with a D. For example, death, dementia, divorce, our kids on drugs, depression, deafness, diabetes. These are often many of the things that worry us, cause us anxiety. And for many years, death was our biggest fear, apparently, recently overtaken by dementia. These are figures for the United States. Apparently, fear of getting dementia, our family having dementia is one of our biggest fears. And these are many aspects that we do work with, along with some other Ds like diarrhea, diets, dysmenorrhea. It's, so many of these Ds. And why? Why is dementia one of our biggest fears, if not the biggest fear? And why in the United States and countries like UK, but here in Spain, not so much. When I lived in Africa, not so much. But it's huge now in the Middle East. As you know, many of you that I lived in Dubai for 42 years. And you would never hear the word dementia. Nobody would talk about it. But now, yes, now that many of my clients, my colleagues there know what I've been doing, they're getting very interested because they're and this is the word, admitting that they have dementia in their family. Why so much? Because of so many misunderstandings about dementia, what it is. A lot of people think Alzheimer's is dementia, dementia is Alzheimer's, but there are, probably 100 different types of dementia. There's a dementia that children get called Batten's disease, for example. There's a lack of education about dementia, about brain health in general. There are the stories about the funny uncle or the grandfather nobody talks about, and all of this that sets up more and more of these fears. People hidden away by the family. The name itself, think about dementia, comes from demented. The idea of a demented soul, the crazy, the irrational, the crazy, the wild. Yeah. It would be much better to call it what it is, which is a neurocognitive disorder, an NCD. Okay, it's just a disorder. As we know from the DSM, whenever there's a disorder rather than a disease, a disorder is when there are certain criteria down in a list. And if you meet so many of those criteria, you are diagnosed with dementia or whatever the disorder can be. But with dementia, people think that, oh, I've got to have a brain scan. It's going to have to be recognized in the brain. But the symptoms are often and usually there well before we get to the stage of have a brain scan. And there are certain criteria, certain things we know that people are more likely to have dementia. For example, I've had a couple of them. One is falls. I've had a lot of falls recently. I actually had brain surgery in August last year. I had a tumor removed. So there are certain things that become also predictive. So I'll get into prevention earlier. Also, one of the why people are so scared is because people are always talking about there is no cure, there is no cure. And even now as a hypnotherapist, and I'm assuming many of you are, I can't talk about a cure. And it's true, there is no cure as such, but we have found ways of slowing it down, of preventing, of each stage. I'm talking about something about stages being lengthened rather than short stages taking us to the final stage. So let's wind back. How did I get involved or even think about dementia? And well, it was my Uncle Len when I was married to my Aunt Dorothy. My Aunt Dorothy was my godmother. So I used to enjoy going to see her. But Uncle Len was often taken away. Uncle Len was often stumbling around in his slippers or his nightgown and pajamas at different times of the day that seemed inappropriate. He often was, they had a carpet, this is in the 50s, 60s, with specks. I think it was called ice skater pattern or something. It was very popular with spots and streaks, a bit like a Pollock painting, really. And he was always scratching at bits, talking about the insects, the ants. You know, you think there are no ants. And my Aunt Dorothy, it's okay, Beryl, come here. Get distracted by an ice cream. Very nice. But I was always like, this, you know, I liked my Uncle Len. He was nice, but he was a bit jiggery. It was much, much later that the word Parkinson's came in. And it was much later than that, after he'd passed, that I was able to read about Parkinson's, read about those side effects that he was having that showed he was having Lewy bodies dementia, which is often linked with dementia, with Parkinson's. And I'm actually working with a Parkinson's support group at the moment, helping them to look at some of the carers, to look at some of the ways we can help. Because Parkinson's people don't always get Lewy bodies. But so let's start, once we know there's Parkinson's, work with me so that we can prevent or hold off on them getting, it's not a foregone conclusion they'll have the Lewy bodies. So that was first awareness. And plus I was always very interested in the brain and how it works. I'm very much interested in language. So I was I went to do my MA in applied linguistics at Reading University. And on Wednesday afternoons, I volunteered to work in the speech lab because I was very interested in deafness and that side of applied linguistics, as well as foreign languages. And we had some patients there with aphasia. We had some who now I realize that it wasn't talked about then, again, a long time ago, early 80s, and that had dementia and had lost language. One of the aspects of Alzheimer's and dementia that they found is strokes, mini strokes. Often mini strokes you're not even aware that you've had. The more of these you have, the more you're likely to have dementia. So I got interested then in brain health and language and strokes. And again, these questions, I wasn't formulating what was really going on. I then was doing research for my book. I guess you all know my book, published by Elman, Hypnodontics. And more I found the connection between dementia and oral health. I didn't put much of that in my book at all because I didn't at that time have that as my focus of research. But then having been interested in how oral health and brain health are so connected and also connected to gut health, more and more asking questions. I'm a pain in the neck because I'm always asking questions, you know, one of those pain in the neck gals. Why does this and what is this? Lucky enough to be married to a doctor. So he was able to answer a lot of my questions or guide me into different areas and talk to doctors at dinner parties and things like that. So I was getting more and more interested in this dementia thing. Then I learned about Dr. Dan Nightengale and his PhD research and his book called The Clinician's Guide to Non-Pharmacological Dementia Therapies. Now, Dr. Dan, as a nurse in UK, he did his PhD research at Liverpool University. He's now moved to the States. He's been brain drained to you guys over there in the States. And he took on three research groups. One were going to be doing hypnosis. One group were going to be doing exercises and the normal things that are often done in care homes. And another group do nothing. Okay, just be who they are. And the research was very, very definitive that there were improvement areas and positive impact for those receiving hypnotherapy. And in his book, there's lots of information with graphs of these 7 areas. The 7 areas of improvement, and it's very, very clear, are concentration, relaxation, motivation. Well, what's motivation to do with Alzheimer's, with dementia, or any of the dementias? Because if you have no reason to get up in the morning and you stay in bed, your life is very isolated and you don't learn, you don't use your brain very much, you don't exercise. So you want to have people more motivated. That's motivation, again, from the brain. So concentration, relaxation, motivation, daily activities were improving. So they were doing more. immediate memory. So remembering what I just did 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, or walking into a room and remembering what I walked into that room for. Memory of significant events in their lives without having to use photographs and things like that as prompts. Social isolation improved, so they were getting out more. They were not so afraid to speak or shameful or worried what people will think about them. And eighth, overall quality of life was a positive improvement. And for that he earned his PhD, and it's being copied by other people who want to make sure that it was good research. So it was a joy to meet him, and this 10-month course just happened to coincide with COVID. So I was stranded in Dubai meeting some other people, mostly hypnotherapists on the diploma course. He had run a course previously, certification level, but this was a step above. And that's when I met Claudia, and Claudia's there on the group. And her being another Brit, expatriate living overseas. So Claudia in the US, myself being a Brit living in Dubai, I reached out to her and said, you know, how about we share studies afterwards, you know, our assignments and things like that, just to see different approaches and see what it's like not being of that country, because most of the people on the course were Americans in America, whereas we were Brits in different locations to where we belong, if you like. So we started very early on in the course, sort of collaborating, getting to know each other, etc. And when the course finished, we were still collaborating, talking and sharing case studies. So I'd say, I have a client with this, what do you think? She'd do the same. We found that we'd gone on really well. We had very much the same, but often different ways of looking at things, which is always good, especially when you've got questions like I do. And so we started to think, oh, maybe we should write a book. But the idea of a book is that if you write a book, it takes ages for it then to be proofread. It takes ages to find a publisher. It takes ages. I mean, let's face it, as soon as this book was published, it was out of date. I already had new information. It's the same with any book on a university curriculum. I used to be head of a university department, by the way, in Dubai. So I know that the books are always out of date by the time you get them. The new stuff is always coming in. So then we have a living course. So this is our year to get that course started. We've started with some videos already. And next year, you'll be able to join the course if you're interested. And it'll be a living course because people can join in and join anytime. And as research and as cases develop, etc., we'll be discussing them with the people on the course as they develop, which is so much more achievable for us and good for the people on the course than reading a book. So that's where we are at the moment. And our focus in this will be carers and therapists, especially those who are trained in NLP, because I also trained Claudia in NLP, and we find that a lot of the methods of NLP are so useful with our pet. I'm going to use the word patients and carers here, although legally I don't usually talk about people as patients. I don't want to ever say people suffering with dementia. That's one thing we have taken out of our vocabulary. So I will use the word patient because they have been diagnosed usually. But just to make it easy for you, the listener. So the carers and the therapists, the people who'll be working with people, I want to train therapists so that they can do the sort of thing we've started doing, because there's a huge market out there, and we have an aging population. I'm looking at the guys in front of me and girls, and like me, some of you are over 70. You know, I just had my 75th birthday. Many of you are over 60. Or you're the age in your 50s where you're caring for your parents, but your loved ones in their 70s, 80s. So you want to know what to do. And so there's that. There was a target audience, but also the patient. We can work with the patient, as Dr. Nightingale did. He did use hypnosis. So if we catch the patient early enough in early or early mid-stage dementia, we can use hypnosis with them. The problem is, because of this lack of education, I find, and I know Claudia is finding too, that very often people are coming to us when it's too late. We can't work with them directly, so we have to work with the carer, because we know that besides saying hypnosis is a altered state, I don't know, I'm not so easy these days using that definition, but it is focus. You do need focus to do hypnosis. And when people get into the later stages, or even the later mid stages, focus is one of the problems. Concentration is one of the problems they do have. So we want to get to the patient early enough. And it's good for someone like me, at my age. Hey, I should be doing some hypnosis on possible dementia now, before I'm at any drooling stages or any late stages. If I can do self-hypnosis for myself, or have someone like Claudia work with me, wouldn't that be a good thing? Let's focus on some prevention here, and that would be great. So we can work with people with dementia or possible dementia. Some of the people that are aware of the link between oral health and dementia are dentists. I'm able now to get through to my dentists through my book, and they're the ones who know that bad teeth, bad oral health, any infection, bacteria, if you've had a lot of work on your teeth, on your gums, start doing some work now on preventing dementia, because it is also one of the effects of poor oral health or interventions, that you are possibly going to have some dementia later in your life. And when I talk about dementia, this neurocognitive disorder, there are 7 levels, and all of you, even young ones like Kathleen here, or what, Larry, you're young. No, but you all have dementia. You know why? There is no level stage 0. Everybody has some neurocognitive disorder. If you think about it, even young people will say, oh, I can't remember why I walked into the room. Or they're driving somewhere and they find themselves, oh, I wasn't driving that way, and why I'm on this road? This is the road I usually take, but I was going to go on another road. So even a healthy person in their 30s is a level 1, a stage 1. So everybody has a dementia, has a neurocognitive disorder. Me, I admit, I have level 2. And I'm not worried about level 2. If I stay level 2 for the rest of my life, I'm happy. Level 2 is what we're just talking about, Cheryl. It's called age-related dementia. Okay? With age-related dementia, those little things like looking for my glasses, but they're on the top of my head. But I find them, I'm not going, wild about this. It just takes me, takes a bit longer to find what I want. I go into the bedroom, forgot what I was going for. walk out to the kitchen. Oh yeah, I was going in to get my water bottle at the side of the bed to fill up. So they're just those snippety little moments that we used to have are just getting a little bit longer. This is the time where we need to admit and say, there's something going on. Wouldn't it be wonderful to do some hypnosis for this now? Wouldn't it be wonderful to find how to prevent this, how to change my diet, my lifestyle, get some education on brain health? Because if I stay, Larry, if you stay level 2, or Larry, level 2 for the rest of your life, wouldn't that be wonderful? Level 2.
Wait, what was that about the rest of my life? I missed that part.
Yeah, into your 90s and 100s. Level 2 is nothing to worry about. It's, you know, but it's when you get into the levels 3 and 4, which are the mid stage, where this information is freely available, Alzheimer's associations, etc. It's called the Reisberg scale. I'll spell it for you: REISBERG, and it's the most internationally used scale. When you get to levels 3, now there's a bit more interference in life. 4, 5, definitely people are starting to notice, you know, what's wrong with Doris? Is something wrong with Doris? But we were talking about the D's earlier, and the biggest problem with dementia is which D? Which do you think it is? Denial. Denial is the biggest enemy we have here, because if, like me, people can say, I think I'm heading into this age-related dementia, I think I'm getting something, and you do something and keep it there, how wonderful. But the problem is, and all of I'm going to call them patients again, I'm sorry, you know, who that I'm work with are people who have been in denial for a long, long time. One person I was working with where I live, it took 18 months, but now she's at least admitting it. I took her out the other week, and she said, do they know I've got that thing? I said, what thing? X. And she said, that dementia thing, do they all know? I said, maybe they've noticed some changes in you, but that's okay. And you can tell them now, can't you? If you forget things, or things are not going the way you want, or you feel scared, you can say, it's okay, it's my dementia. And you'll find that they help you and they're understanding. Oh, yes, I remember that now. And I heard her happily say to one of the people who was saying, she ordered a meal or something in advance. And no, I didn't. She said, I've got it written here. And I looked at her, D. Oh, I think it's my dementia. Oh, that's all right. Immediately, the other person was on her side. But when people fight it with the denial, we find, I don't know about you, Claudia, but we've discussed it, that it's the biggest enemy is denial. In fact, there's a reason perhaps that they call dementia a loss before death, or a slow death, is because you lose that person when they're still alive. Yeah. And everybody's sort of in denial. Don't say the D word. Don't. The family even gets into it because it upsets them. So if you can work with people and not, oh, it's your dementia, mother. Oh, very stubborn. In fact, that's one of the things that Claudia and I have done. We have a page, maybe you can type it in for me, or put a reference to it, Claudia. We've now put together 7 videos, which you can get for 7 days for $7. I mean, what a bargain. And this is, we discuss an aspect of dementia. Oh, see, she's so clever. Look at her with her QR codes. We discuss a different aspect of dementia. And then I put on my yellow scarf and I pretend to be the dementia patient, and Claudia will do a bad job, or the sort of thing we see people doing with that. And you can see how the dementia patient reacts. And then I take my yellow scarf off and I'm me again, and we discuss what went wrong and how she felt as the carer trying to get someone to do this or communicate. And I talk about how I felt being spoken to that way. Okay. Because it's all about feelings. And again, as hypnotherapists, we know about feelings. It's all about communication. We know about that. So then we do it the right way. Or there's lots of different right ways, but suggestions on what we can do to help. Because now we're getting to we've talked about the D's, we're getting to the C's that we need to do this work. Communication, compassion, and collaboration. Collaboration with our colleagues, collaboration with our carer, carer with the patient. Compassion means feeling how they feel, not feeling, I've got to get you into the shower now because I'm off to work. I've got to bath you now because of this. But to take a client-centered approach. Yeah. So one client I'm working with at the moment, one carer I'm working with, her father, Mrs. Mother, who passed away also with a dementia, and they used to love dancing. Okay. Now he sometimes thinks the daughter is his wife. Okay. So but she'll, no, it's me, and she says her name, it's me, it's not Mom, rather than fight that. And then he goes into fight mode because he's being challenged, and that's what we don't want to do. You say, oh, yeah, let's do some dancing. So dancing relaxes him, dancing feels good. Yeah. And very often dancing, she can get him into the shower to wash him and look after him. Or she has some little dolls that she dances with and gets them to dance, and then she can get him relaxed enough that she can give him a towel wash. Okay. So there's lots of ways if you become client-centered and find out what they like. For example, the lady who used in a care home who was becoming a pain at meal times and snack times because she was always going into the kitchens and getting in the way, and we have to get her out because of health and safety. We have to get her out because of health and safety, and why don't you just sit there? Let's call her Betty. Why don't you just sit there, Betty? We'll bring you dinner. You don't have to do anything. Betty, just sit there. Betty's always making a fuss, until they found out that Betty used to be a school meals supervisor. In her mind, she's going to the kitchens to supervise. So let's see, is there a job that she could do, that she could be in charge of and feel motivated, her motivation in another way? Yeah, she could be in charge of the plates. We need 16 plates. Betty, can you count the plates? Yeah, and she can't. Can you count them and make sure? So she could do that health and safety wise just outside the kitchen and not be in the kitchen where people would be tripping over her. She was a danger or an insurance problem. Finding things for her to do and making her, she's the supervisor for this was, and all it takes is to be client-centered. And we as hypnotists are used to hearing people. We're used to writing the scripts or thinking script-wise what we could do from that person, from what they say. It means finding out about what they used to love, what they used to do. So that's the 3 C's, communication, compassion, and collaboration with the family to find out what they used to like, what they used to enjoy, and working with that, focusing on finding solutions, not reminding them of their faults. And you've got your dementia, and you can't do this, and you can't do that anymore. And dwelling on the positive, the outcome, what we want. So what are the 6 domains that are impaired when somebody has dementia? And remember, there are hundreds of different types of dementia. Alzheimer's being the most diagnosed. And how do we diagnose this? Because they never actually get a brain scan. But there are these certain levels and criteria within these levels. In Dr. Dan's book, for example, you'll find the Reisberg deterioration scale there, and each level you can start to see. So, yeah, stage 2, me, for example, normal forgetfulness associated with aging, for example, forgetfulness of names, where familiar objects have been left, symptoms are not evident to loved ones or the physician. So, you know, I develop strategies. Yeah, and I know other people do, but at least I'm talking about it, and at least I'm going to work on it. So we Claudia and I are trained to use something called the MOCA, MOCA, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And there are 30 questions, starting with a question about the date and the time, who's the President of the United States. There's a drawing to do. There's some questions about counting backwards and things like that. And out of these 30 questions, if they get a score 27 or less, then we can say there's some cognitive issues going on, and you might want to go and talk to your doctor. We don't diagnose, but we can say you might want to talk about to your doctor with this. But we also, from these 30 questions, can see different areas that we can help with. So it might be executive function, complex attention. It could be learning and memory. It could be language. It could be perceptual motor skills. It could be social cognition and appropriacy. I'll say those again, because those are the 6 areas that are affected: complex attention, executive function, learning and memory, language, perceptual motor skills, and social cognition. Complex attention are things like holding multiple information. So if I say to you 3 words now, and then I ask you at the end of this talk what those 3 words, without writing them down, could you remember them? Yeah, so don't write them down. Okay, just think of these words. Let's say pen, elephant, scissors. Okay, pen, elephant, scissors, without writing them down. Let's see if you remember at the end of this talk. See if I will, because I'm not writing them down. I'm just seeing some things in front of me. So are they easily distracted? Now, again, we have to be careful with a diagnosis, because people with ADHD, for example, are easily distracted. So you have to be careful when diagnosing that there are no medications or other issues that can impact people. For example, some medications can cause, or a UTI infection, things like that, can cause a temporary problem in brain function. So you have to be very careful. And that's one thing that I hear people say is, oh, the doctors are taking so long to diagnose. Yeah, because there's so many things they have to check. It isn't before making a diagnosis. What else in complex attention. Oh yeah, needing to break down things into smaller steps. Yeah, like my client now, who I've been working with for 18, she's lost a lot of weight. So let's call her Cynthia. Okay, Cynthia, what's going on? Oh, she sacked her carer. Are you cooking? No, I don't like to cook. Well, I can't remember what to do next. So her sequencing has gone. Also, I found out she's worried about causing a fire. I mean, she's really going through the levels. And, oh, if I cook, I'll make a mess and then I'll have to clean it up. Yeah. So she's not breaking down things into small steps. And yet she does have this ability to think, I'll make a mess, which is the big picture thing, but not to go into the small steps. And difficulty in holding a conversation when there's a lot of distraction around, other people in the coffee shop talking, or traffic outside calling attention away. Waiters want attention while they're talking to you and forgetting where they were in their story, things like that. So that's complex attention. Then there's executive function, yeah, things like planning, organizing. So organizing a trip, organize flights, medications, you know, remembering that my medication runs out tomorrow. So I should have thought about getting new medication 3-4 days beforehand and not be on the last minute. Keeping a diary, you know, she used to keep little notes all over the place until I got her a diary, and I really, all these notes, you gather them together at the end of the day and you put them in your diary. And then there's like the overall overview. Learning and memory, recalling. If that's going, there's lots of things that we can do with hypnotherapy to help. And I remember with NLP, don't say don't. Don't forget XXX mum. Well, of course, they forget. So I'm teaching carers to say, remember XXX mom, remember, instead of don't. And you know, the shoulds and the musts and the have tos, whatever comes after mom, you should, they close down. They don't hear it because I don't hear the should. Language, things like, are you using, a lot of people start to talk to people with dementia as if they're children. They talk down to them, and they're not children. They know. In fact, I've found that many of my dementia clients actually have this incredible antennae. They know when people are talking down to them. They know when somebody doesn't like them. It's like dogs and little children. They know who doesn't like them. They have that sixth sense because they're losing perhaps their cognition. They're going into their subconscious mind, and their subconscious mind is more sensing. So they're able to somehow sense more. Now, this is not proven, by the way. It's just something that I've started to observe. I'd love to hear from Claudia as well. I'm glad she's here. Expressing themselves. You know, they don't explain. They'll just say it is, or they'll hold back and not say anything at all. Or they'll pretend and smile because they don't want people to know that they've got that they don't understand. So it's very important to say things like, instead of saying, do you understand, Mom? Of course, they're going to say yes. Say things like, tell me what you understand. I just said, I know what I said, but can you kind of summarize that and tell me what's going to happen now? And if you can, use your fingers so they can see that sequencing. Well, I've got to do this, and then I'll do this, then I'll do this, and then this. Oh, Mom, there was something between that one and that one. What's that? So you can help them to sequence by using your fingers. I think it helped that I was a primary school teacher way back, because these are things that, you know, if for perceptual motor skills, hand-eye coordination, don't do everything for them. Hold something and make sure that they reach for it. They tend to, I've seen people with a spoon feeding people when they're still able to use a spoon. But, oh, it might make a mess. Yes, it might. But you're now de-skilling someone. So please don't de-skill people. Help them to know where they are in time and space, rather than do, oh, don't be silly, Mum, we're at Dora's house. We're going to visit Dora. Yeah. Say, well, that front door, the black and the knob there, back in time, I wonder where you saw that before. Help them with their memory in ways that we would as a hypnotherapist. Remember that shadows confuse, so make sure the rooms are well lit. I know we like the ambience of shadows and, you know, the romance, etc., but the shadow, and then the shadows become people or real things that are threatening them. So you want well-lit environments. Perceptual motor skills are things like getting lost. One simple thing that has proven, I haven't had to use it yet with any of my clients, but have a mat at the door that looks like a hole, or a hypnotic circle mat would be a good one. And they think they're going to go down in that hole or fall in it. So they won't cross it. They're less likely, we're not saying they're not likely, but they're less likely to, as people talk about go wandering, we don't talk about going wandering anymore. We talk about walking with purpose. If you can find out what was on their mind or what they're talking about before the person went wandering. No, they're walking with purpose. They're looking for the dog. Okay, the dog's been dead 10 years, but they're looking for the dog. Or something, you know, there was, I've just had friends visiting who live in a Wiltshire village, and they have a coffee shop there, and down the road is an old people's home, etc. Some of them have dementia. And when there's one lady, whenever she's gone missing, they know where she will be. So, you know, and everybody sees her walking down the street. Oh, she's off again. They know where she will be most of the time. You'll find that people with dementia bump into things a lot. They'll often have bruises, so ask and find out what they're bumping into. Don't always assume that somebody is hurting them, but there may be, you know, are they bump? You often find that they have bruises on their elbow, in their elbow area, because they're bumping into handles, or on their hip because they're bumping into furniture. And the last one, social cognition, is often they'll have sexual inappropriacy. So which is why people often stop taking granddad out, because he'll be talking about somebody's boobs, or actually wanting to go to them, or, you know, touching himself inappropriately. So it's important to tell people beforehand that this may happen, that what's going on, but also just be able to take his hand away sometimes and not make a big scene about it, because again, people can be very stubborn and they don't like to be corrected, especially in front of others. Yeah. They're not so good at picking up cues of appropriacy or outbursts. And it's funny, when I was looking at Louise Hay's book. I guess you know Louise Hay's book. I often have it around. And I thought, oh, I wonder what Louise Hay, my copy here somewhere, says about dementia and Alzheimer's. And she says it's feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and anger. And I thought, yeah, That's interesting, because I found that often they have that helplessness, hopelessness. There's no hope. There's no hope for me. Again, if they've always been taught or learned that there is no cure, or it can only get worse, there's going to be this sense of helplessness and hopelessness. But often there's that anger. You know, Dad was always so calm and loving. Now he's got these angry outbursts or whatever. And remember that these will also go together with impacts on daily living. For example, are they dressing? Do they have toilet issues? Can they look after their finances? That's often one of the first things when they start asking more about, oh, especially this time of year, taxes. I need help with my taxes, which they didn't used to. So whenever you're looking at things, it's compared to how they used to be able to do things to how they're doing it now. The phone, it's really difficult for us oldies because now everybody's using their phone and we still want to use bits of paper or whatever. Look, I've got a few notes here that I've written for my talk, just bullet points, not on my phone, because we tend not to. Also, eyesight is not so good. So lots of things, that, especially if you have NLP and communication in your background together with your hypnosis, that you can use. Some of the, again, Lewy bodies, which is one because I work with the Parkinson's group here. So they're one that I've worked with the most, even more than Alzheimer's. So the Lewy bodies comes with hallucinations. So the carers get very scared and they don't know what to do when there's hallucinations. Like, there's that man at the window, the man at the window, the man at the window. Don't be stupid, Dad. There's no man at the window. There's the man at the window, the man. Or, yeah, my patient was at night imagining people coming into her room and saying things to her. And it could have been a dream. I don't know. Anyway, how would you talk to a child in that situation? Would you say to a child, don't be stupid? Listen, don't be stupid. What if a child said, there's fairies at the bottom of the garden? You wouldn't say, don't be stupid, don't be stupid. You'd say, you want to get into their mind, just as you would as a hypnotist. Okay, the fairies, tell me about the fairies at the bottom of the garden. Tell me more. Ah, those fairies. Yeah, I told them that they were a long way from home and I gave them a map. And I said bye-bye to them the other day. They've got a map so they can find their way home now. Yeah. So that's one that you could use with children. What could you help somebody who was having hallucinations about a man at the window? What might you do? Any suggestions? Unmute yourselves. I know Claudia knows what to do, so I want to get the others thinking. So somebody in your family is obsessed with a man at the window. There's a man at the window. What could you do? Step into what you would do, for example, by stepping into their reality.
The first thing I might do is ask if they know who it is.
Yeah. And tell me more. Which is also one of the questions we ask a lot in sleep talk, isn't it, Cheryl? Tell me more.
Yeah.
Not discount it too quickly. Tell me more. Be interested. Yeah. Who is it? What they were dressed. And then you say, and then you can say, oh, because you've shown interest and you calm them down just by listening and taking them seriously. Oh, that man. Yes, I know that man. He's the window cleaner. I asked him to come and give me a quote for window cleaning. That's why he was at the window. If you see him again, it's because maybe he's going to come back and do the window cleaning. Or he needs more information to give me a quote for the window cleaning. Okay,
So you kind of make up the story if they don't know who it is,
absolutely.
of a safe person.
Not straight
might
away.
be.
Engage, relax them.
Mhm.
Oh, tell me more, tell me more. And then something plausible. Yeah. So the dog that died 10 years ago, but they're obsessed about the dog these days, that they saw the dog. You don't see the dog died 10 years ago. Oh, because they're going to go through grief again.
Oh, yeah.
But people do it all the time. They feel this need to correct the
Mhm.
person. Put your hypnosis cap, your questioning cap on. Enter their reality. Got to go look for the dog. The dog's not around. What are some of the things that you could help? Well, where did you last see the dog? What was the dog doing? You engage them again so they're relaxed. Yeah. So, maybe you can even put a blanket down for when the dog does come back. Because, got a little girlfriend down the street, or and he's visit there or whatever. But he's going to come back. Let's make a bed for him to come back to. Work with their reality. Remember, imagination is stronger than reality. These suppositions we work with all the time. In fact, the presupposition NLP.
Larry Garrett has his hand up, has a question.
Okay, Larry.
I'm enjoying this. I've been listening, but I had to leave and change because I have clients in a few minutes. But I have a thought and a comment and a question. I'm enjoying it so much, Beryl. Thank you. I saw a movie 2 nights ago on Netflix called Two Lives, One Love. Do you know that one?
No.
Okay. So the man is about 80 years old. He's starting to fall. It was beautifully depicted of the progress of dementia. I don't want to tell you the whole story because I want you to watch it, but he falls in love with a young woman when he's about 20 years old. And this is going to be my question. He couldn't continue this love because he wanted to be a professor of mathematics at the university. This was done, by the way, in Spain, so you might enjoy that. And so he went and studied. Now, here's my question. My question is, and you can answer it after I tell you the rest of this, do you think a person who uses more logic is more prone to having dementia than a person who uses more emotions? And the reason I asked that is because he was so adamant. Like I saw one of the chats that said, shoulds are like don't. And he was so adamant that things had to be exact. So his physician said, one of the memories that last the longest are the memories of years ago. So he began this quest to find the woman he fell in love with at 20 years old because he wanted to remember her before he lost his memory. The beautiful love story. But the question, of course, after telling you part of the story is, do you think a person with more logic has more resistance and rigidity and would create the effects of dementia or Alzheimer's easier? I'll put my back on silent and I'll keep getting ready for work while you answer.
Okay, so this assumption that some people have more logic than emotion. I think we all have logic, we all have emotion. It's just that how have they just got used to using logic above emotion most of their life?
He was a math professor. He used only logic, and he says the only way to live life is with logic and mathematics. So he's using a lot of logic. And I'm a Pisces, so I'm all emotions. Continue.
Well, I'm an emotional intelligence development specialist, and everybody has emotion. I think he was in denial of emotion. I'm sure he had emotion or frustration, for example, if students didn't get what he was telling them, or failed the exam, or he was having emotion, energy and motion. He just wasn't used to listening to it. But
Was
now,
it a real story?
as the dementia sets in, his logic, that the sequence, again, we talked about sequencing, is put to the side, and the emotion that was always there is rising. Claudia?
Yeah, I was going to say, was it based on a real story? Because there and then, if it was you know, a written script, then
It was based
you
on,
were the
yeah,
one in hypnosis, focused attention. It's not a real story, but it makes a good story.
yeah. It was based on a real story though, yes.
So so again, I mean, it's just about getting curious, but there was some studies, and I think I spoke about this, Aging with Grace. They did some studies on some nuns' brains, and the nuns that they all had tangles in their brain. So so if they'd had an MRI scan, it would have showed that they actually had dementia. However, because they were so busy doing another degree, and they were building new brain synapses, the actual it never showed. And it's, again, I think, as long as we keep on learning and keep on doing brain health coaching, which is what Beryl and I will do with our clients, then actually you can reduce the symptoms of dementia. I don't know if that helps at all.
One of the things we're working on is, as somebody said, these are only thoughts. These are not prescriptions, Larry. And I haven't worked with hundreds of people, but I know working clients, and every case is different. Every case is
so might I comment, Beryl, further? Yes, good theory. However, you mentioned earlier, denial is one of the culprits of dementia. So I'm saying this man, you'd have to see the story, and it was based on true story, was a mathematician. He was very logical, and he continually was denying anything was wrong with his mind, because his mind and his perception was of logic. And he still had logic, because some of the tests they did would be, tell me, if you take 3 away from 30, what do you have left? And he'd say 27, 24, 18, 15. And then eventually he couldn't do that. And he would get so angry because he couldn't remember those numbers, that I'm saying maybe this logic got in his way of allowing it to cushion. I often think this: if I had dementia or Alzheimer's, and I doubt that I will, and if I ever do, you call me a liar, because when I drop something, when I forget something, I don't get angry at myself. I say, well, everybody forgets things. Everybody drops things. Yeah, but you do it more often, Larry. Yeah, but I'm much older. You know, I'm 82 years old. I should be able to drop things once in a while. I should be able to forget, what's that guy's name? You know, at conferences, in the same way with Zoom, if it wasn't for these names, would we remember everybody's name? No. So I think we need to quit beating ourselves up. Whoever made the comment earlier, I agree. There was a book in the early 70s called Don't Should on Me. And shoulds are one of the most important words that I think creates stress and anxiety. And I might share also on a personal level, a great friend of mine and client of many years, her husband has a serious dementia. He said, well, let me talk to him. So he came to my office. We sat down and we spoke for an hour and a half with wonderful conversation. And when I was through and I told her, she says, yeah, but he hasn't lived in that house for 20 years. He doesn't deliver new. But why are you constantly arguing with him that he doesn't live there and he doesn't deliver newspapers and all this other stuff? Because we had a great conversation, him and I, as long as I didn't contradict him. I enjoy studying this, because when I heard you were doing this talk on dementia, I said, I will change everything. So I changed my schedule so I wouldn't miss it. And I sent Cheryl a note as it recorded, because this is a wonderful, wonderful presentation, Beryl and Claudia. Thank you from my heart for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry, because what you did is you entered that guy's reality.
Yes.
You're present with him, not saying
I joined his,
you
know, yes. He used to be a mechanic for the police department fixing their cars. And I says, how you doing fixing cars? Oh, no. He says, they got me working on the computers now. He's been retired for 7 years. But what am I going to do? Argue with him? No, let him have his fantasy. Thank you. I'll shut up
Thank
now.
you.
I'll shut up.
Thank you.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And one of the things that we do is encourage people early on to sort out photographs and make a memory book. You can have a people book. You know, people in my life are important, people that I want to remember. You know, it doesn't have to be a fancy album. It can even be a child's scrapbook. You know, events of my life that I want to remember. Have objects around. So I keep all my Africa I totally will never forget my Africa days. So I have my touchy-feely Africa objects and my shells from my shell collection, and you know, things that don't encourage Granny to throw everything out. But you do want to have as much as possible a clutter-free and bright light environment, so they're not falling over things. But things that will help them to be, you know, and if she's talking about being in Africa and the story about the cheetah or whatever, just encourage it, you know, because as long as that brain is working, telling those stories, they're not getting worse. And as I told you, we don't have a cure, but we can help that dementia be where it is. And if I stay at level 2 for the rest of my life, age-related dementia, and I never get into 3 and 4, I will be a happy little bunny.
Great. Patricia and Denise have their hands up. Let's go with Patricia first.
I wanted to say that all the stories that you've been telling and the gentleman, those to me represent the compassion part of this. That when we enter their world with acceptance and interest, we're showing them compassion for who they are, and it's healing and it's relaxing, and I like the way that fit into your guide, your outline.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, the 3 C's.
Yeah, the 3 C's.
Okay,
Do you remember
Denise.
3 C's
Okay.
are? That didn't write it down. Do you remember what those 3 things were that I said I'd ask you at the end what they were?
Scissors. Yeah.
Yeah. 10.
10 elephant scissors.
Scissors.
Good. Good. Pet yourself little like that every day.
What was the first C of the 3 C's?
Communication.
Okay.
So compassion and collaboration, which is what Claudia and I are doing, and it's what we do with our patient. Collaborate with them. Don't talk down to them. Thank you. Denise, you've got your hand up.
Yes. So I have a hypnotherapy client whose wife descended quite quickly into very severe dementia. They're calling Alzheimer's. And one of the things she goes through is intense rage and anger that can be very volatile and very quickly. And, it's been very challenging for her partner. He's 90 years old. I remember one time I was doing a hypnotherapy session with him, and she was throwing things at the door and swearing at him, and it was because some little thing had happened that, just created a lot of confusion for her. So, I'm partly wondering, how to work with that. They're trying to help her, reframing, calming activities. She likes puzzles and things like that. But a lot of her anger is just that, she's confused. Like right now, she's in an assisted living place. She doesn't know why she's there. A lot of confusion. And the second part of that is I'm wondering if in the earlier stages, doing hypnosis to help them, almost like planting something that then will be there for them as a resource so that they're able to stay calm when they get into situations that feel confusing and that kind of thing.
Well, from my experience of homes, when somebody gets angry, they immediately go from anger to calm them down, calm them down, calm them down, which means that you're dealing with behavior, not intention. Now think of this as a hypnotherapist. What's the cause of the anger? Don't deal with the anger, deal with the cause. Yes, my Elman brain there. What's the cause of this? And usually the cause of anger is fear. What are you frightened of, Mary? What are you frightened of? They want to be listened to first.
Yeah.
They don't see themselves as angry. You do. What are you frightened of, Mary? Let me help you. What are you frightened of? So you take time, you be in the moment with them, with every communication. Anger is a secondary emotion. It's not a primary emotion. Fear is. And then you can take that, if you can take the hand, so tell me what you're frightened of, Mary. And breathe with them. Don't say, breathe. Remember your breathing techniques. Breathe with. Just like when we're doing an induction, we say, take a deep breath. We do it with them, don't we? The conscious listens and follows. But most people go out of rapport by doing the opposite. Yeah. Maintain eye contact rather than, oh, what are people thinking? What, oh, she's angry. Mary, what are you frightened of? Tell me what you're frightened of. It's okay. Tell me what you're frightened of. I'm going to help you. Yeah.
Isn't that pacing and leading?
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. As I
Pacing
said,
and leading.
NLP is the most amazing tool to use with us.
I look at it as my job as a hypnotist is to be the flexible one.
Yeah.
And I go to them rather than trying to bring them to me.
That's why we ask the questions. What are you frightened of? Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the dog, and my dog died 3 years ago, and I still talk to him every day. And he's sleeping right outside the door under a bush there. And when I have a sandwich, I always throw the last bite away because that was his.
I have a question, Beryl. I was taking care of a woman who was 102 as a power of attorney, and the first thing of why she called me was it was the finances. That part she couldn't do any longer, and so she said I was the only one that trusted her. But when we were talking about the lost dog that had died 10 years ago, towards the end she was really always on and off distraught that her son has not come and visited her. And he had died 13 years earlier. And so what do you do? How do you meet them on that? And do you eventually tell them that he hasn't come because he's passed, or what would you do in that situation?
Good question.
Well, if you have repeated it often and it's not sticking, then I'm sure he'll come soon. He loves you. I'm sure you'll meet again soon. If that means for you when you die or whatever, but the reassurance, because tomorrow they probably will have forgotten that you said that yesterday anyway.
Which is what happened. I switched it off a little and she would forget. Yeah.
Be in the moment at that moment rather than being on our logical, consequential thinking mind that says, can't mislead them, because you say the truth right now. The next person comes along, sits with them, they'll say, my son didn't come and visit me. And you'll get angry because 5 minutes ago you told her son's dead. So it's only going to irritate you. because I just told you, just we're not lying as such. We're just doing our best to be in their reality. Imagination is always stronger than reality. So if you can, as best you can, yeah.
Right. So what was interesting though was that she also had a lot of anger towards him because he had drug problems and he actually died of an overdose years earlier. So there would be anger whether he came or anger, that he wasn't coming. So there was, some deep-seated stuff going on there. So but thank you. And Stephen
Love
has
is love. And it's interesting that Louise Hay says about Alzheimer's dementia. And I only found this recently, and yet I had started to put this together in and this is just my own thoughts, I'm not diagnosing, guys, is refusal to deal with the world as it is, hopelessness and helplessness, anger. More and more I'm finding that. How about you, Claudia? Hopeless. And if you are somebody who's been a carer of someone with Alzheimer's or dementia of any kind, and you're seeing this as a hopeless disease and you're feeling helpless, etc., it's interesting that carers are 50% more likely to get dementia. Because they've got into that helpless and hopeless and angry as well. It's interesting that Gary says he doesn't get angry. Larry said he doesn't get angry with himself. I do my best not to get angry with myself. It's like, oh, I'm so silly. I just say, oh, there it goes again. Yeah.
Thank you. Stephen has his hand up, and then Natalia.
So my question is I don't have anyone directly that that has dementia or any clients that are suffering from that, but I do have several friends that are that not only coach in that area but work in that area. So my question comes along this line of, as you're engaging with people, the most important things that I found within hypnotherapy is establishing trust and establishing this sense of safety and security. So as someone is experiencing something, I can understand why you would not want to, in effect, re-traumatize them, right? Have them go through the grief process of losing a pet or losing a child or a spouse. So to be in that moment, but how do you stay in that space of trust where you maintain the authenticity, right? Almost speaking in this vague metaphorical space where you're not actually answering them, but shifting the focus from the things that make them angry or upset and trying to bring that focus and awareness back into the thing that that brings them positivity.
Do you want to focus on anger here?
Yeah, I mean, what would be helpful in shifting that focus for, like, let's say that they're becoming. The only time we try to really intervene is when someone is in a state that is not helpful. So let's say that someone is angry or highly focused on something that's not helpful in the moment, and it's becoming a pattern. How would you shift that into a more helpful or more constructive space, or do you just work on your own sense of peace and support?
Again, the assumption that it's not helpful was about you. It's helpful for them. Right now, this anger, I need to get it out, or they wouldn't be doing it. For them, at that moment, it is. Or they wouldn't be doing it. And you wouldn't be wanting to calm them down if it wasn't for you. So the communication, I'm doing this for me. They're doing it, if there's only them and you and you're at home, give them a cushion to punch, if that's appropriate. We don't have to calm down everybody who's angry. That's why every situation is different, and every client with dementia is different, and every daily activity is different. So one of the things I do the most is saying to the carers, whatever you did, I'm sure it was the right thing at the time. You know, you get this analytical, I could have done this, I should have done. Well, yeah, replay it and think, if it happens again, what would you do? But it's unlikely that specific thing in that specific place, time of day, whatever, will ever happen again. But if it did, what would you do? You know, we don't want our carers being too analytical either. They need to have a life. Is this in any way? So, and again, anger is, yeah, I feel helpless and hopeless. I'm in this body, but this body doesn't do what I want it to do. And I can't get my message across to you on what I want. And I want something, but I'm getting angry. Let's go back from anger to the thing before. What is it you want? What is the fear? What is the thing behind this? And it's all about listening, big ears.
Yeah.
And looking beyond that burst. Sorry. Claudia?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, always get curious, because they're not their behavior. They are, for them, it's their good intention, and they want to feel their feelings. So I recently had a client, and he was getting terribly angry, and they called me in as an emergency, because of like, can you just come round? I can't stand him anymore. And I went round, and actually I spoke to him, and then I went to her and I said, tell me more. What happened? And she's going, well, I was telling him why, I was asking him, why was he doing this? And I went, okay, right. So you were undressing him. Okay. And so I explained to her, let's lose the why. Let's say what, let's get more curious with him. And she is a finger wagger. So I explained to her about, she was unzipping him, and that made him maybe feel more vulnerable, more like a stupid little boy, that he could no longer do this and do that. And he was getting very angry that he was having to use this walker now, and he didn't want to, and he was a bit wobbly. So I said, we've just got to get right into his place and what's going on for him. And anyway, the whole thing just changed after that. She stopped finger wagging and she lost the why. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, like my client who every week or so she's angry at the bank, she's going to change the bank, she's angry at the bank, angry at the bank. And why is it? Because every time she goes to the ATM, she forgets how to use the ATM card to get the money out. So it's easy to get angry at the bank than say, I'm frightened to go to the ATM machine. And I'm frightened to go into the bank because I'll think I'm stupid because I've forgotten how to use the ATM machine again. So I just went into her bank and explained to the staff what was going on. Claudia and I often take people out who have dementia, and we have a little card that we can slip to people in the coffee shop or wherever that explains, you know, my companion has dementia.
Nice, thank you. Natalia?
Yes, thank you so much, Beryl. That's wonderful talk. I just wanted to add from my personal experience. I had my mom with dementia and now my mother-in-law. I had exactly the same, like you were telling, case when my mother-in-law started to sin. Actually, it was a window cleaner, and she said that he's gonna come and kill her, and that was horrible panic. But when she was repeating herself over and over, I said, "Oh my goodness, haven't you seen that on the news that they've been caught? So and so they all in jail now. So and everything is resolved." She's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So she kind of cooled off for a while, but it was recycling over and over and over the same thing. So that was one thing. With my mom, what I want to suggest personally, if you guys working or have somebody, what helped me when I've done a lot of my research, that dementia, it's like a diabetes of the brain. So we cannot process ketone. So MCT and coconut oil help my mom to keep her emotions stable. So I could communicate with her normally until practically her passing away for 2 weeks. So emotionally, she was stable. Then MCT and coconut did not work. But I was giving her twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. The minute I miss the dose, she goes off the railing. So that's my personal experience. Just wanted to share in case somebody needs it. So, and I know there is NIH research and a lot of research done on that.
You're quite right, Natalia, and that's the sort of thing that Claudia and I are including in the course. It's MCT oils are excellent. Blueberries, curcumin, turmeric. Yeah. So we're including that. We can't include everything in an hour's talk.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, that's all in the free e-guide, actually, on that link. That's included in the free e-guide, things that you can do to help prevent yourself. But brilliant. Love it. You did great work there.
Thanks.
Well done. Well done. Thank you for sharing.
Reach it, posting the link in case people came in after.
Collaboration. And not speaking over them, listening. Being there, thinking, what was happening just before? What are they frightened of? Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of courage for me to say, I have stage 2 dementia. But I want everybody to be able to say that. But that shame and that all the things that people put together, that denial stops them getting the help that they need. Let's talk about it. Like, remember when everybody used to talk about the C word, the C word. Now people all openly say cancer. I wish it could be the same for dementias. I wish people could start to have that understanding that people now have on the C word. Do you remember those days, Bruce, when it used to be like, or nobody talked about it, Oh, who'd say breast? Now people talk about breast cancer. There were days where you didn't say breast in nice company. The world is changing, but it's not changing on dementia so much. But Claudia and I are going to change the world, aren't we, Claudia? Remember, in your NLP, to use VAKs. Are they principally visual people, auditory, kinesthetic, tastes and smells, because you can use that language as well to help calm them if that's your agenda, but look people in the eyes. There's so many people, dementia, look away because it's embarrassing.
You started to mention at the beginning how the UK and the United States see it so much differently than other areas of the world. What do you think that is?
I hope I didn't say that they see it differently. There's a lot more cases.
Is it part of it diet or that we live longer?
Yeah, processed foods, sugar. We started the dementia group, lovely volunteers, lots of retired people in this area. So they all want to help, and the charity organizations, and all we can bring things, and all they wanted to bring was donuts and sugars and cakes and biscuits. And the worst thing to give dementia patients and Parkinson's, like somebody said, we know it's diabetes type 3.
And artificial sweeteners.
First thing is take off the processed foods, the sugars, but where I am in Spain, there's one McDonald's and there's one Burger King and something like a huge area. They don't have the drive-ins. They have good real meat. But they are catching the young with their gifts and things like that. And it's sad. because it's much nicer to go out and have a tostada with tomato and Elman, which is real food. And salad. People have real salad. It's not without all those dressings on. The dressing is the best thing that you're going to have is extra virgin oil. Stop having the ranches and the things that you have in the States. Just put your olive oil on. Okay. And get your teeth looked after. Go and get your teeth checked every 6 months. Because if you get infections, bacteria here, this is so close to the brain.
Oh, yeah.
So close to the brain. And the same for the gut. People are going on these special diets, IBS and things for the diet. You can have the best food in the world, best vegan food or whatever. But if you've got infections in your mouth, bacteria, you're swallowing it. You might as well have 3 McDonald's a day. Because that's what's killing your stomach, is health and your brain health. Can we finish on a positive note?
Yes, please.
Because it can be prevented. Start early, start young. It's the biggest fear in the US at the moment. Yeah, you can do something now in your 20s, in your 30s, so you don't get dementia. That's the positive story.
Larry, she's trying to be on a positive note. Is yours positive?
I think so.
Okay.
The impression I got, and I'm no expert in the area I'm about to describe, but one of my hobbies is history. One of my hobbies is American Indians, so on and so forth. In many American Indian tribes, the gentle respect shown an elder is similar, I thought, to much of what you were saying.
Mm.
And I'm wondering if I'm right or wrong on that. I'm wondering if that may be a point that should be stressed, that as you show gentle respect, you make the other person more comfortable and improved, I would think.
I would think so too. It's all positive. I think Stephen's put some here as well, that, yeah, these are many of the things that we can work on. Many of the things I've talked about, we can work on with hypnosis, with NLP, with communication, compassion, and collaboration. So thank you for your input, Stephen. Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, and I forgot, use humor, use mime. You know, remember, there's lots to laugh. And dementia clients, it's quite easy to get them to laugh. You know, ape it up. Imagine that they're a class of primary school kids.
And you can tell them the same joke several times.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question, Ms. Patricia. You say that to start early to avoid dementia, what are some of the things that people can do early in their lifetime to keep from getting dementia? The diet and exercise, and are there any particular things that are really, really good to avoid dementia?
I think we mentioned many of them. Strokes, if you've had strokes, get yourself checked out if you think you've had mini strokes at all. Yeah, if you've had any teeth issues, look after your teeth.
Oh,
Gums in particular. Sugars, get rid of those foods, get rid of them. Yeah, ketone, yeah, good. Intermittent fasting sometimes, it's good.
Mhm. Okay.
Claudia said that there's a lot
Get
in
rid
the
of
free
the,
guide.
Get rid of the dressings. Just use olive oil.
Yeah.
All the things that you know.
Mhm. What did you say, Cheryl?
I was saying that Claudia said that a lot of the stuff are listed in the guide, the free guide, and the thing that is listed that I put in the chat as a link.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of information there. Okay. And oh, she's holding it up. So if you want to scan, if you look at, I will, hold on, let me spotlight you. Okay, so if you want to scan that, you can scan it and go right to the page. Oh, very cute, Claudia. I'm getting it. There it goes.
And so there's the free information, and then you can click and you can get those 7 videos for 7 days for $7, which is just an introduction as to many of the things we talk about, but you get a lot for that, $7. And our course is going to be it's going to be lifelong.
Thank you.
Yeah, literally, people, you'll get this email, and then the next day you'll get another email inviting you to buy that 7 days to and it's like you get another free e-guide and a video from Beryl and I every day for 7 days. So it's like $1 a day that you're getting another e-guide and another video of Beryl and I swapping, so it's huge, it's massive value, it's so much information to help everybody navigate. And then if you actually want to do the course, as I say, Beryl and I will be doing that, and it'll be a continual loop, won't it?
Yeah, as we learn more, as we work more, we'll be letting you know, we'll be sharing our case studies. It's not like it's a prepared course beforehand, and some of it will be, but it's going to be so ongoing and so live. That's why we're coming up with the book.
So there's because there's a Facebook group called Lighthouse Brain Health Associates, and when you'll be able to join that, and it will all be, and because we're going to be a collaboration, go back to one of Beryl C's, we're all going to collaborate together and be able to share our stories so that we can all support each other, because it's about, we are all in this together, we are all associates, and I think it's really important that we highlight that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beryl.
It's 8 o'clock at night here, so one of the important things is sleep. And a regular routine.
Very much for doing this.
Okay.
And joining us. Okay. I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And welcome to the Dave Elman Cafe. This is part of our series in 2024. And this will also be up on the conference. Sorry, Kathleen?
Sorry, I said thank you, Beryl.
Did you say something?
Oh, hi, Kathleen. Are you still in Spain?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Wonderful. Let's meet up.
I'd love to.
Okay. So, and I'm going to shut my recording. And joining us. And this will also be up on the conference. Sorry, Kathleen?
Sorry, I said thank you, Beryl.
Did you say something?
Oh, hi, Kathleen. Are you still in Spain?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Wonderful. Let's meet up.
I'd love to.
Okay. So, And I'm going to shut my recording. And